They didn't let me go home straight after, the government. They said I had to stay out a while to see what's the matter with me and if I was a junkie. I wasn't like, but I took a few different things at different times, mostly for a buzz. The main thing they were all asking me is, did my mother give me stuff? And I told them all the same thing I told everyone else. Of course not. And she didn't either. Not really anyway. The way it started, I think, is we both were taking things when we'd find them off the table, me and Killian. And my mum would be, did you see tablets on the table? And we'd be like, no. She might have half believed us for a while, but after that she'd know it was us. And she said if we were going to be taking them things, we should stick to the hash only. And she got us do jobs for her, so she'd give us hash only, so we'd stay away from the tablets. She never gave us no tabs, like. Not around then anyway. It was the opposite. We earned hash with jobs, so we'd stay off the tabs, like, see? But the jobs was mostly getting tabs or bags of hash off one fella, Moxie, or else we'd be dropping them off someplace else, like, for our mother other times. Moxie'd give us extra tabs too if we agreed to bring him to a kind of posh fella too called Trevor, who lived in Curraghbinny. So we got hash and tabs easy enough after a while. And Davy O'Brien and another fella, Dinny G, was working for us too sometimes. We couldn't ask Davy go that, cause he'd be all like giving out to us when he'd hear about something and going on about it all the time, so we dropped him from the gang. I never seen the tabs in that house with the open door before, so that's why I tried them ones. Later I knew why Con and them travellers got friends. It was cause they got stuff from the same place Moxie got stuff, or even straight in from outside the country like. But they couldn't sell it cause nobody paid travellers that much cause they wouldn't trust them like. So my mother got Con to do a deal and they all became friends. But all that was later on when I was back at home. At this time, social workers and all them was looking to place me in a home for a bit if they knew I wasn't a junkie. So I had to give urine samples every couple of days and do interviews and chats with different people. Yours mostly, like. They were alright too. And I had to go to school all the time too, and I stayed with Foxy Bill a few days first, and then they found a home for me near there with a woman called Busy. She hadn't a clue, Busy. She'd be like, oh, don't do that now, God bless us. And I wouldn't be after doing nothing bad, like. She had a stairs and all, like, in her house, Busy, so I'd be just sliding down it, and she'd be screaming. Or I'd be climbing out the window just to see the view up above, 'cause there was a grand view in the gaff, and she'd be screaming at me again, oh, don't do that now, God bless us. And she had a garage with all tools and stuff, and I told her I'd make her a house for her dog Bootsy, 'cause he was a lovely fella and I love dogs, me. And I'd done woodwork one time, I was telling her, but she was like, oh, don't do that now, God bless us. Her husband was dead, she told me one time, and she showed me a photo of him that was on top of the telly. I thought it was like a funny film when she got all sad, so I gave her a push and laughed, and she started crying for no reason. I didn't push her hard, I swear it, like. It was to give her a laugh, like. But she was all bothered or something all the time. One time I accidentally ripped the wallpaper just a tiny bit, like, and she was the same, oh, don't do that. I never even made a hole in the wall or nothing. And one time or two times I had dirty clothes that was full of mud, and she was screaming again when she came in and I was lying on the settee. My mother even told me do it when we were on a telephone call, 'cause Busy was paid a load extra off the government if she had to clean the settee. But Busy didn't even care, she just wanted a clean settee. Every time she'd be screaming to God. I said it to my mum later, that Busy didn't like it when I dirtied the couch, and my mum goes, the gratitude of some people. I always remember that, 'cause it was funny the way she said it, like all posh. The gratitude of some people. That woman done me head in the end, Busy, and I stayed in Foxy Bill's place after that for a few days or weeks till they found someone else. And I went to school a lot of days, and I had the odd visit home every now and again to see Killian, and we'd do stuff a few hours, but we never stole off another house together no more, just talked and stuff mostly. He told me he was doing a load with Con and our mother mainly, and it was his birthday one time too, so we had a party at home, and my urine failed a few times after that, 'cause you need a few weeks to come down, like. Next, I got a place with a fella called Mr. Mulcahy, who was alright. I said about him before, that's when I met him, I think, around then. He was kind of old, and kind of foxy too, like Bill, or blondie brown hair at least, like, and skinny, he was skinny out. And he had a small beard, I think, kinda, and probably a moustache too, and he smoked a load. His first name was Desmond, but I always called him Mr. Mulcahy. I don't remember why, because mostly I call people by their first name if they're friendly enough, especially if they're not an officer or a judge, like, and he was probably the nicest to be growing up, Mr. Mulcahy, like. I'd say he preferred that name to Desmond, with me anyway. He was a social worker before, but not anymore, retired, like. But still, he'd look after the odd kid now and again for a bit if they was stuck, he said, and if they couldn't find no one else to take them, like me, like. He never went out, I don't think, except to take me places if I needed to. Nobody really took me places where I wanted before, mostly because I don't go anywhere, me. He was like, where would you like to go? And I'd be after getting a shock and say, Photo Wildlife Park. And he'd bring me there, like. And I chased the giraffe, and the guards came and chased me, and I was running around the giraffes, and they were in their truck chasing me. They took us back to a room after, and Mr. Mulcahy was mad out at me, giving out in a whisper, and the main fellow in charge goes, it was a very serious offence, but Mr. Mulcahy, fair dues to him, got him to chill after a while, and said I loved animals, and I didn't know at the time I wasn't allowed to run around with the giraffes, but I knew it now. And your man goes, it's very dangerous, because they could have kicked me and killed me, and Mr. Mulcahy goes, we all agree it's best to keep the young lad safe and away from danger. So we got a spin-off a fella called George after that, whose job it was to drive us around for the day down there. He took us everywhere in his jeep, and he learned us all about the monkeys and things, and we going. That was the best day of my life, I'd say, down there. They gave us food and all for free in the restaurant. I could be a zookeeper in charge of elephants. I'd be good with elephants, I'd say. There was no elephants in photo, though. Another time, when he asked, I said I'd go to Sligo, because I was nearly there one time. But Mr. Mulcahy goes, that's a bit far. Let's go to the Mallow races instead, because that's still in Cork, see. He said he likes putting money on the horses, but he wasn't allowed to bring me there, so if he brung me, and if I told on him, he might get into trouble. I said I wouldn't say nothing, and till right now, I never said it neither. I don't know why, never really, but I just thought of it now. Might have worked better if I did and get away from all the other stuff, now I think of it. He'd be there with his racing book and choosing his horses, and then he goes to me, here, take this and put a fiver on number 1 son at 2.15 and bring me back the change. And he gives me a tenner, and I'm holding on to it, and he's not even looking at me, but he's already studying his racing book, and I'm still holding out the tenner in shock like. I goes, I could just run away with the money. And he goes, you could, and nothing else. And I goes, well, you give me so if I put on the bet for you. And he looks at me and has a think and goes, if you give me the change, I'll pay you €2 for your work. Or else you can have 10% of any possible winnings. I had to think about it, because I'm no daw either, like. And I asked him, what are the odds on the horse he's putting on? And he told me 3-1. And I thinks about it again, and goes, I'll take the bet. And when I'm going off, he calls me back and asks if I knew how much I'd get for 10% at 3-1 on a fiver. And I said 150, and I could tell he had a shock when I knew it. And when I got back and gave him his change, he goes, why didn't you take the €2 if you knew the most you'd win would be 150? And I goes, you get a better crack off the 150. The horse didn't win, but it was good crack. Worth €1.50 anyway. I'm thinking now though, now I think of it, I could have taken the €2 he was giving me and put that in the horse in the first place, and I'd have gotten €2 worth out of it instead of 150. I'd say he even knew that and all though, because he was the cleverest man ever from all them books he'd be reading. I was in Mr. Mulcahy's for a good while, a year around I'd say. Mostly he'd be taking me to school in the morning, and he'd be mostly outside and pick me up after that and take me back home to where he lived like. We'd be walking back. I was doing that ages, and they were always saying I was doing good most days, and Mr. Mulcahy'd be always saying well done all the time. That school was mostly okay, but I don't want to be talking about that place. Mostly boring stuff, and sometimes writing. Boring enough. And my mother'd be calling me and telling me get a new coat, and I'd have to get a new one, or look out for expensive books she'd say, like a big Bible in Mr. Mulcahy's. But mostly I only saw old ones nobody'd be bothered with, so I left them off like that. And she was inside a few weeks one time up in Limerick, and she phone called Mr. Mulcahy and told him she wanted me for a visit, so he brung me up there even when I told him 40 times I wasn't going. What would I want being in no woman's jail, I goes. I burnt a hole in the seat in his car by accident and all on the way up, because I was rubbing his lighter off the cushion, because I was mad and giving out to him. But he wasn't listening, so I was rubbing the chair with the lighter, and he didn't even care. And then it felt hot, and I saw there was a big burn mark in a hole. He looked and spotted it, and didn't even say nothing, and I was mad at him more after that, and flung his lighter out the window. He was mad at that, alright, because he couldn't have no more fags on the way up till we stopped. Inside then I had to wait on my own till my mother got in the meeting room, because not Killian or Mr. Mulcahy was with me, and all the ones in there was sat out, just having a fag mostly and talking with their visitors, not bothering no one. And when my mother came in, she was delighted to see me, and she was showing all the guards and the other women me, and going, that's my second now, 'cause Killian was up last week, and she told me Tara was coming next week, and Melanie the week after, and our friends was cheered up in fairness, and even my mam was happy out to see me, 'cause she's not usually like, but up there she was all thrilled. Then we were sitting down, and she goes, Con was getting a house, a big house, and we'd all be living in it, and I was like, yeah? And she was like, yeah, he was up in court before me, she goes, and his solicitor tells him he should keep his money and property, 'cause that's how they wouldn't be able to come after you no more, like. And I goes, I bet he made a load off the travellers, and my man was going he did, but there was a battle going on again now, 'cause the travellers tried to double-cross Con, and he had to teach him a lesson. And I asked her what happened, and she tells me they tried dealing with her separate to Con, and Con found out they was dealing with someone else, and he got mad at him and started a fight, and they wouldn't work with him no more, only with her from now on, but she managed to calm everyone down, eventually mostly like. So as long as Con buys the house off them and doesn't give them more grief while she's stuck inside, we'd all be well set up when she gets out, and we'll get into the new place then. I was asking her then about the house, and she tells me it's a mansion and all, and we'll be all moving in soon enough, and she'll have all her children under the one roof like she only ever wanted, and everyone'd have their own room, and Stacey could stay there too, and Con too maybe. And I goes, would Con be mad at her for dealing with the travellers? And she goes, no, he was glad someone in the family was able to keep up the deal, so Con be working for my mam now soon and all. She tells me don't tell anyone all that now, but I could tell Mr. Mulcahy she'd be taking me back soon enough. I was thrilled then when I got back to Mr. Mulcahy and told him we'd all be living in a big mansion, all the family, but he only smiled and said we'll see how she works that one through. It still was ages after that before the house come up, like months later, or years probably. It was all hassle because the council wouldn't pay Con nothing to my mother for us to live there. First they goes, Con got no papers for it off the travellers. But then he got papers, and they were going, the family isn't big enough, because there was too many rooms for our family for them to be paying for. So they moved another family into it and all, instead, and paid them for it, robbing bastards. But Con was given out to the council, because he said that the other family would make shit of the place, and he wanted his poor sister's family in there, but the council were on and on about all the book of rules and everything all the time. They said my mother only had 4 children, and the children wasn't even living with her mostly, and it was a 6-bedroom mansion Con brought, so it was too big for us. Mostly when Mr. Mulcahy'd be home, he'd be sitting around his house reading all the time. Didn't even own a television till I got him to get one after a long time. He gave me a book every now and again, still though, but mostly they'd be filled with words only and I wouldn't be bothered. And then one time he gave me a children's book with children's pictures, and he goes, here, try that one. And I got mad at him, because I thought he was mocking me, but then I knew he wasn't, and he was straight about it, and I took it and read it to prove him I could. It was called Tiger, Tiger, Is It True, by Byron Katie and Hans Wilhelm. I always remember that one, because I read it like 100 times at least. It was a children's book, alright, but like it was a good story about a little tiger who had no friends and stuff. And after he saw me reading it lots, he asked me one morning if I'd try other ones like that. But I wouldn't be bothered. I goes, nah, I'm alright with this one, like. Then he asked me why was that one special, and I told him I just liked it. And he goes, does Tiger Tiger remind you of anybody? And I goes, no, he's just a tiger who was sad because nobody was good to him, and now he's happy by the end. And Mr. Mulcahy goes, do you feel a bit like Tiger Tiger feels sometimes? And I got so mad at him, I flung the book at the wall and all, and shouted and said, of course not. Killian is my best friend and my brother, and I wanted to go visit with him and prove it. So we rang my mother, who was after getting home, and I told her we were coming on a visit, and she told me I wasn't allowed, and wouldn't tell me why, except after a while she goes, Mr. Mulcahy was probably queer, and he was turning me queer too, and she couldn't allow me see Killian no more in case I turned him a queer too. I was crying with her for ages, 'cause she wouldn't believe me that I wasn't a queer, and then she goes, "Prove it," and hung up. And when I got off the phone, I called Mr. Mulcahy all the names, and wrecked a load of his stupid books, and ran out of the house, and then I made it back home to prove it to her I wasn't no queer, which is the same as a bender. When I got home that time, Killian was there, and there was loud music everywhere, so we couldn't even be talking. So we went up around the field to Moxie, who was mad chatting with a few others, and he goes, "I have a job for you, Killian." And we went down around town after that, and got on the bus to Curraghbinny because Killian needed to bring stuff to Trevor, and I was his bodyguard. After we dropped that off anyway, we carried on down to Crosshaven and walked up the hill to Graball for a walk along the rocks to catch catfish for a bit, and then I went for a swim too, not Killian, but it was freezing and my underpants was soaking wet the whole way home and soaked my pants and the bus seat and all. And my mother and Stacey was home when we got home, and Tara too even, back on a visit, and they were all mocking my wet pants, Killian and all. I went in our room and slammed the door and knocked a few holes in the wall because they were mocking me still through the door. And I remembered the music then because there was no other noise when I was inside my room for a while, except from the speakers my mum had out the window, playing music full blast non-stop, but inside the kitchen you could hear it only softer. When he comes out later, I goes, "How come the speakers is outside?" And my mum goes, "So the neighbours could enjoy the party and all." And I goes, "What party?" And she goes, "Killian's gone to the chipper and we're having a party." And I asked her, "Why aren't the speakers inside so?" And she goes, "They're too loud to be in the kitchen." And we had a massive dinner with battered burgers and battered sausages and everything. And Stacey goes, "I wonder could you get battered chicken?" And Killian goes, "The Chinese battered our balls." And Stacey goes, "Oh, I'd say that'd be sore." And we all starts laughing, Stacey too. But mostly we were mocking Stacey, because Killian whispered to me he was talking about chicken balls, but Stacey thought it was their Chinese men's balls, like. And Stacey kept going on about it, asking if they'd need to shave him first. And then she was making a face and saying she wouldn't like it, but she'd give him a go, like. And we were all breaking our arses. Tara didn't say much, but Stacey was asking her about where she was living, and Tara would be like, "It's alright," or "Yes, sometimes," stuff like that. She wasn't mad or anything. And my mother was giving out then about Bridie, who was minding Tara like mostly, saying Bridie was fierce bad to her, locking her up every night in a cage and giving her a baiting all the time and everything. And she fed her nothing too, even though the government paid her thousands every week to make sure she got the best of eats. That's why we were having this party now, so we'd fatten Tara up before she went back to that place. It was so bad. We were all mad at Bridie, and I goes to Tara, "Is it true?" And Tara just shrugged and goes, "Yeah." I got mad and told her I'd save her off Bridie and off the government true as God, 'cause nobody be allowed to treat a Collins that way. And Killian and my mam mocked me and called me young cob, but Tara didn't laugh at all, and Stacey didn't either, only smiled. My mother goes to her then, "Would you like to come live with your family, Tara, and we'd all have parties like this all the time and all?" But Tara only said no, she'd stay at Bridie's, like. And I got mad with Tara over that, 'cause I couldn't understand why she'd want to be there in a cage instead of at home having parties and chips with her own family, like. A bit after that, Bridie, who was minding Tara, came to the house, bold as brass like she'd done nothing wrong, all big smiles and loud talk. She made sure she was heard louder than the music even. And I was mad at her and goes, "I bet you won't be smiling like that when you take Tara away." And she's only laughing and talks about the weather and the traffic, but my mam, who I can't believe isn't even ganging up on her, like. My mother's only all shy and nice with Bridie, like she's a scared of her or something, but I wasn't a scared of her and neither was Killian. She turns down the music outside then and all, my mam, like. It was our first time meeting Bridie, me and Killian's, and we went outside after a while because our mother pushed us out like we wasn't standing up for our rights. And Tara's. And she goes, "Make sure Bridie's car isn't robbed when she gets out with Tara." And we found a big fancy yoke she parked down the road, Bridie's car, that she got off the government with all the money they paid her for minding Tara. And we got others to help us get blocks under it, and we had a tyre wrench, and got one wheel off and rolled it away down the hill before she came out, because we were refusing to let her take her sister back to that place. And she spotted us after she came out with Tara and our mother, and she wasn't smiling no more. She goes she needed a wheel, and we said we hadn't a clue what she was on about, and after ages a tire truck van came with a new wheel, and they stuck it on, and she took Tara away anyway, and my mother left her take her. And Tara went too, even when I was banging on the window and trying to get her out of the car like. I was mad out and sad for Tara that she'd be locked up in a cage in a house like that, and you wouldn't think Bridie'd be the kind of one who'd do it, but my mother said she was. So I remembered Madge from years ago, only worse even. And the music started up even louder after that, and everything was mad out in my head even. My mother told us after that the government made her sign a piece of paper on all of us to say they could take us whenever they liked, and the only thing she could do was get a visit or something every now and again off any of us. And it made me mad out to see her all sad, how they'd be messing with us all the time like that, just to get us back, even when we done nothing. And we was so happy just a while before that, when we was all just left alone at home, the whole family together like. Except Melanie wasn't there, and Jordan Swan wasn't born then neither.